All right, Adam. USMNT beats Australia 2-1. Thought it was a pretty good game. Honestly, looked maybe a little shaky at first, and maybe we were heading for a disastrous performance, but things kind of balanced out. And Haji Wright, who's a guy that you and I have been high on for a very long time, I think, had maybe his best game as a USMNT player. What's your reaction to this win for the USMNT?
Yeah, I think the reaction here is let's not get too ahead of our skis. Let's not get like totally over the skis, but like you got to recognize growth when growth happens, and like certainly that was growth from what we've seen. I think last camp, certainly you have to kind of take the Japan game with a grain of salt. They're playing all backups, third string type guys, but also that was growth, right? And to be honest with you, recently it doesn't matter like low level opponent, high level opponent. We haven't looked good in the last year, right? Plus, if you go back to Copa and even before that, right? So it was nice to kind of see us play two solid opponents. They're the types of teams you're going to have to beat in group play. We beat one, we tied one. So, I mean, once again, it's not like, oh my God, guys, we're here, we've arrived. Like, no, but my biggest thing, Will, is you saw some flashes of especially like flashes of coherent play. That's what I'll say, right? That's not like the most aggressive thing to say there, but it's like flashes of coherent play, especially offensively in the final third. I can see us starting to solve some puzzles that we haven't been able to solve for a long time. And with a whole different mix of guys. We saw two different strikers.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're finally doing our FC26 giveaway that we're celebrating our 10,000 subscribers that we hit a couple weeks ago. And the way to qualify or enter the contest to win is you must comment down below in order to try to win FC26. I'll be picking one lucky winner in a week from this video, from the comment section, to win FC26. You're not going to want to miss that. So make sure you comment down below, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Now, back to the video.
Playing well. I thought even after Pooley left, we might have played some of our best soccer. So, yeah, that's my biggest thing I'm excited about. My biggest thing I'm worried about is we still are prone to let up a random goal out of nowhere that like isn't really overly earned. Like I thought both goals we let up in this camp were like kind of ones that get you sent home in a World Cup, like they're both goals that you don't want to let up. Make teams earn it, and try and not put it on a plate for them.
No, I agree. And when they scored that first goal in the 19th minute, I just thought that the attack looked flat in the beginning of this game. Like you just mentioned, they scored. I thought, okay, here we go again. We're going to see this again. We're playing from behind. I'm curious how they're going to respond. And then Pulisic gets hurt in the 30th minute. And then I was like, oh shit, is this what's going on here? Is this going to be, another sign of how bad things are to come? But like you said, he gets subbed out for Diego Luna, man, and they actually look better. Like, not to say that Diego Luna was because they look better, but things just opened up more, which is kind of, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, right? You want Pulisic to be integrated and helping this team look better. I do agree with you that the back line did still look a little shaky. I think Chris Richards' camp has been way too inconsistent, and we saw him in the Gold Cup where he was really good. He was like arguably the best player outside of Malik Tillman. You don't want to see him start to regress back to his former self where he didn't show up for the USMNT. You're wanting him to consistently put in good performances, build his confidence up heading into the World Cup. So that is definitely something, a little bit of concern, right? Who is a player that obviously Haji Wright is going to be an easy answer that stood out. I want to talk about maybe a player that disappointed you, and then also maybe someone outside of Haji Wright who impressed you.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Haji, it's kind of hard. It felt like a lot of guys were kind of contributing in small ways throughout that game.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, last game it was like, I feel like Ballo had a really good game. I thought Tillman had a really bright game in the attack last game, like standout, where it was like both of them, it was shockingly awesome, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, Christian Roldan was the other guy who had a really good day today. He really did. I mean, he had a kind of a shocker on the goal. It was pretty horrific. Like, you just have to handle that as a professional soccer player better. Richards got burned again on that goal. So, I mean, it's kind of a dual – I put dual assignment on it, but it looked really bad defensively from Roldan in that moment. But, and I've always said this, Roldan is, like, interesting where if you're going to play him in a game where the other team's not going to apply a ton of pressure, the other team's not going to have the ball a ton and be threatening you a ton, I actually think he's pretty useful. I've never been like a full Roldan hater, right? I think things online can get over-exaggerated and people can kind of, I don't know, including me, right? We just kind of we can hate on guy, but like I've always thought Roldan's a solid player. I had never thought he belongs on the national team. I still don't, even after tonight. He had a really good night tonight. I still just don't see it. Hopefully I'm wrong. It seems like he's going to get some more run, but I just think as you level up an opponent, I think guys like him can be really bright against lower level teams and have some really good games against lower level teams. And then that fades out, right? We've seen that through the years with so many guys. Ferreira, like there's like a 24 dudes I can name off the top of my head who have played really nicely against lower level opponents. And when the competition level scales up, you kind of see where their level is. And that's what he is to me. I have seen enough in his career to know what he is. But I got to give him a lot of credit for tonight. He's getting an opportunity, and he made the most of it tonight. And listen, he's going to get another opportunity now because of that. And he should. Like if you're going to say that guys are fighting for positions, and a guy comes in and it's not just the 2 assists. I thought he actually controlled the ball really nicely. Had a lot of other, I thought, really good moments with the ball. Was very solid on the ball in the back. And so he was the other guy who kind of, I would say, stood out to me in a positive way.
Yeah, I would say besides the giveaway, he had a pretty solid game. And, I've obviously been following him in MLS pretty closely this year. I would say he's arguably having the best season of his career with Seattle. And I think that is carrying over to the USMNT. Now, like you said, he's kind of limited technically. He's not like going to blow you away with the way he plays, but I think he does a lot of the dirty work. And I think that he is consistent. Like, he's not special. He's consistent. And I think it's also because he's a mature player at this point. He's like 30 years old. He's been playing for quite a while now. I think he's just kind of settled into that role. And is he going to make the 2026 roster? I don't know, but I think he's got a chance at making the 26-man roster. And I think that, like you said, based on the way he's played, he should at least have that opportunity to win that spot at the moment, right? I mean, there's still a couple more camps to go until the final roster is decided. Now, as far as players that did you want to touch on that real quick?
No.
Now, as far as players who you're disappointed with, I mentioned Chris Richards. Would you say Chris Richards, or was there anyone else that you were disappointed with?
Yeah, I am disappointed that Richards just hasn't been a little bit better in the one-on-ones. I thought I don't know if you caught it, but late in the game, I don't know who the Australia player was. I don't know Australia's roster that well, but they had a really fast winger who absolutely burned Freeman down the line one time. And I was like, ooh, this guy's electric.
Probably that Torre guy, I think. Or
no. He was the left winger. Yeah. He came off the bench, I think.
No, it's Aaron Kunda. That's who it was. Yeah, number 14. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's cooking. Yeah, for sure.
So he had a 1v1 against Richards too, and kind of put it on him and got a good shot off. Right, it was kind of right at the keeper, but it was a little nervy. Where I was like, "Gosh, I'd love for you to just block that ball, man!" And not, and he got nutmegged. I don't know if you remember that, and had to foul. He was good. He broke up a lot of stuff. Like, he had a really nice breakup on a ball that I thought probably would have gone through and created a one-on-one with the keeper. Yeah. And he kind of came out of nowhere to just break up the ball. It wasn't a one-on-one. So he's intercepting well. He's doing stuff in the air well. I feel like he's putting himself in good positions to cut out, potential dangerous actions. But he's not proving to be a guy that you want on an island and is going to be able to consistently come up with a 1v1 stop on an island. And, it's where, yes, I'm disappointed in him, but I'm a little bit disappointed that we have not yet figured out how to support each other better in the back, because last cycle we were actually pretty good defensively last cycle, and we did not have great one-on-one defenders. I thought our defensive guys and our defensive scheme last cycle was actually really sound, right? I don't give Berhalter credit for a lot of things, but I thought we were pretty sound in region defensively, and we were pretty tough to score on in region. And we always seemed to kind of have a gang of guys around and multiple guys. You know, we rarely put guys on an island. And I feel like multiple times every game in the last 2 years, honestly, it's not just the Poch era. I just feel like we make a dumb play that puts a guy on an island or gives a guy a dumb, open shot, or we just get broken down in a way and we get opened up in a way that we end up putting a guy on an island, right? Which is what happened tonight. It's what happened last game. We just kind of got diced up, and then all of a sudden Richards is on an island both times, And you want your Premier League center back to be able to make a higher percentage of those plays. No center back's making 100% of them. You can't put center backs on islands consistently. You just can't. Like, even the best in the world are going to lose that matchup to the best attackers, right? Like, if you 100%. Go to a high-level soccer practice and they're doing 1v1s, the attacker's winning the battle more than the defender in a 1v1. They just are. But, yeah, we need a little more of him. The guy that was out there today that I'd say I was most disappointed in, probably it's hard. I don't know. James Sands a little bit, like McKenzie a little, like McKenzie just isn't overly inspiring. It's hard to say he was terrible today, but also I'm just not overly inspired by him. And I was hoping for a little more out of Freeman in the right wing back spot. I was just hoping to see a little bit more brightness with him going forward. I think there is a lot of potential there. I still just haven't seen it enough for national team for me to think that he's the guy. To me, Scally should get the next chance. I just don't think Freeman's shown enough that it's his backup spot. To me, we should be doing what we did with the 9, which is all right, Josh, go home. Haji gets a chance, right? It should be all right, Freeman, go home for a camp. Scally gets a chance. Let's see what he has to offer. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you touched on Mark McKenzie. I was curious to see what he would do too. I wanted to see him play next to Richards and see what he could do. But like you said, man, he didn't do anything that overwhelmed or that he was underwhelming in this match. He didn't do anything that really stood out that was good, in my opinion. I don't think that he's beaten Tim Ream for that job, which, I say this all the time. Anytime you and I talk, I cannot believe Tim Ream is going to start at almost 40 years old for this national team, but it's just because that's how weak we are at that spot. Mark McKenzie has not seized the opportunity. What did you think about Miles Robinson? He started 2 games in a row now. What did you think? He was okay, or
similar to McKenzie? I mean, there's a lot he was fine. He was, and so was McKenzie. They're both fine. They just there was nothing there that really inspired me. But a lot of that's probably my previous kind of exposure to those guys and how I feel about both of those guys, which is I'm pretty neutral on both. I don't feel overly confident if either of them are starting. I'm also not oh my God, this is a disaster. Last cycle when Aaron Long started, I legitimately was oh my God, this is a disaster. This guy's just been horrendous. But both of these guys, it's a little more ooh, okay, this is what we got, I guess. I guess we're rolling it out with these guys, And I don't know, do we have anything better? I don't know. I would see what we have in Banks. I'm not declaring him a starter at all, but I would just see what's there, and I'd see how fast he develops this year. And he might not, right? He legitimately might not be ready by the end of the season. I think some people overstate our young guys sometimes. Bring him in, he has to start. It's but he's intriguing enough, and I've liked his performances at a pretty high level for club enough so far that I'd be hey, let's bring this guy in and peek at him in some lower stakes games, and let's at least get him integrated. And if this guy has a big time season, and by the end of the year, he's an emerging, high level center back in a really good league, I would want to be ready and not have to react and be oh crap, let's get him integrated fast. So I'm hoping we can get him in the next couple camps and see what's there. But that's not, just being honest, I think the kid has a lot of potential long term. I'm not super jacked up at that either. I don't think that's going to be a knock dead option. So I don't know what to do at center back. I'll be honest with you, Will. I was kind of thinking about it tonight, and I put out a thought, and it was I think like what England has done with their back three, where you have like, okay, you kind of have this abundance of outside backs, right? And with like him, with you've had Trippier, you've had Alexander Arnold, you've had Kyle Walker. It's kind of like a lot of really good guys at one spot. And it's like, well, man, if we can only get one of those guys on the field at a time, that limits us. And I thought they've done a really kind of interesting thing where Kyle Walker isn't a center back, but they put him at right center back, and he's been able to utilize his speed and defending. He's good enough on the ball back there to kind of move it, the way that you need him to. I think it gives them just a little bit more, I don't know, it just gives them a little bit more speed in that spot. And I think there's something really interesting with Anthony Robinson, right? Seeing Timmy Weah at left wing back was like, oh yeah, Timmy Weah can do that, and he can do it pretty well. And we actually have a lot. And like, I don't even know where Timmy Weah fits. To me, he does not fit as a dual 10. If we're going back three with dual 10s, like to me, he's not great in that spot. Like he's way better when he's wide and making runs and like doing the stuff that you kind of saw him doing today when he was getting the ball on the touchline. And so I really like him. I don't know where Timmy fits in this current Poch alignment and system. I know he played in one of those. I think last game he played in one of the dual. Did he play dual 10 or did he play wing back?
I think he played both. Maybe I think he played both actually.
Yeah, but anyway, I think wing back has to be the spot, and if healthy, I think Dest is absolutely the obvious guy on the right side, and I do think Jedi is kind of the obvious guy on the left side. But there's a part of me that's like, man, can we flex this in a way that we can utilize some of Jedi's speed and defensive ability, which I think he's a good defender. I saw some guys tweeting he was a bad defender tonight. I was like, I've only been impressed with Jedi's defense for national team. Gives you a little bit more speed next to Richards on that side. You can do some interesting things like England did where Walker would still be able to go up the field a little bit and kind of provide some support and kind of an extra guy on that side. I think we saw Jedi in possession. I think Poch like flexed him into more of like a pivot at one point. I forget which game that was, but I was actually really impressed when that happened. I was like, did not think he could do that. So I don't know. There's something there though, where it's like, all right, if we're going to play three in the back, like, do we need to play three center backs? Like, center backs kind of suck. Like,
I agree.
Finding two that can play is hard. And so I don't know. It kind of takes, to me, it takes Ream out of the picture because I don't want Ream as the center guy. I just don't think that's a good spot for him. You need that center guy to be the sweeper style who can clean stuff up. And I actually do think that's what Richards is good at, right? Not the 1v1s, but he's good at like utilizing speed and angles and like breaking shit up. And then on the right, so it becomes kind of like, okay, well, Ream isn't playing the right center back. That doesn't make any sense. So it's kind of like, all right, who's that right center back now? If we did do a Jedi kind of as a stay-at-home left center back, who's the right center back? So some intriguing kind of interesting roster stuff that kind of came into my brain tonight with what seems to be where we're going, by the way. Like this is working. I don't think Poch is going to pivot from this until it falls apart. And I think there's some like cohesion that's forming with how we're attacking, which is kind of interesting.
No, I agree. And I think another thing too is that we've seen Joe Scally play that right center back too. We've seen that before. I think if he got reintegrated, you could potentially have him. If you want to keep Jedi on the left side and have him left wing back. Now, to your point, that kind of makes Tim Weah a little bit useless because he's not going to really have a spot if they're going to do this five in the back because we know Dest's going to be on the right side and then Jedi'd be on the left. So that's an interesting option. I guess you'd have
Weah could become a super sub. It's a great super sub to have.
You got to have depth, right? You got to have quality depth.
For sure.
Yeah.
And listen, like Tim Weah has been really good for the national team for 4 years. He's not like a guy that I'm like, oh my God, if he's not starting in this current crop of guys, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Like Tillman's started to play at a similar level to what we saw the best Weah, right? Like I think he's provided some performances in the last this year, 2025, that are starting to resemble the best Weah performances. Now, Weah did it on a bigger stage, World Cup qualifying, all of that, but like, I don't know, there's something there, right, with Tillman. I think Tillman's a better dual 10 than Weah, right? I just think he's more comfortable in those spaces. So once again, like a lot of it's like, okay, what's best for the team? And then you're going to have some guys that it's like, where do you fit that guy in? Timmy Way is one of those guys. To me, Wes is kind of one of those guys too. It's like, where do we fit Wes in this? Like, he hasn't been playing him in the double pivot at all. And he's been playing him, obviously, I think maybe we saw him at right wing back one game, but like we played obviously in the dual 10s is where we've seen him, this window. Like, is that, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to kind of see, what happens there, right? And where Wes kind of ends up fitting. But good night from Wes McKennie. I thought he was solid tonight. Nothing like spectacular, but I thought he put in a good shift.
Yeah, I don't think he was bad, but I want to touch on this real quick, and I do want to move into the midfield and talk about that, because talk about like who's going to be playing behind the double 10s, like you said, which we assume would be Pulisic and Tillman at this point. I want to talk about Matt Freese for a second. One thing I'm a little surprised by is that Poch didn't start Matt Turner for one of these games. It does feel like at this point Matt Freese is definitely the starter, because you would have thought he would have at least started Matt Turner one time to see how he played and give him a chance to win his game. But I think it's over, man. I think the battle has been won. Matt Freese is going to be our starting goalkeeper in 2026.
And this is, I literally totally neutral on Freese. I'm not anti. I'm not super positive. What has he like done thus far? Has he do you feel like he's come up with like big moments thus far?
I think he has had a couple blunders.
In the
Say
Gold
it again.
Cup, you have a PK save in the Gold Cup or something? Like, I just
he did. Yeah, he did.
He hasn't. I know he had. I remember. I just don't remember it that clearly. But I remember him having like a stinker at one point.
Yeah,
but it hasn't been stinker after stinker.
No,
he kind of like on my. This is a totally not going back and looking at anything. Just this is a feel. My feel is like, he hasn't like made any saves that it feels like we're amazing, but he hasn't like let in a ton of goals or like done a ton of things that you're like, oh my God, the keeper's like blew it right there. So it's so weird. Like, I feel like he's just kind of like existing on the field as a replacement level goalkeeper. To your point, he does seem to be the locked in starter. I would imagine he's outperforming him in training if he's just locked in like this, but
yeah,
we haven't seen, I'm hoping we can get it. You're going to need if you're going to make a run in a World Cup, your keeper is going to have to come up with a couple magical things. It just, especially as an underdog, you just need it, right? Like, you're going to need a couple goals to be saved that you're like, whoa, that should have been a goal. And our keeper came up with it. Not advocating that Matt Turner's that guy anymore. I haven't seen that from him in ages. Guy doesn't seem to play soccer. And I don't know who else we go to. Right? So it's like, while things are more positive in a lot of areas, we still have big question marks that we've already talked about. Center back, and keeper so far. And I think you want to talk about, to me, the next big question mark is the midfield, which I think we want to talk about next.
Yeah. So I think we agreed Tyler Adams penciled in, or not even penciled in, markered in starter, right? Who's going to start next to him? Is it going to be Cardoso, who I think just got injured again today at Atletico, if I'm not mistaken?
Mm-hmm.
And even when he has played for the USMNT, we both know he hasn't been what we expect of him. Like, he's been disappointing, I think, most of the time. So I think that spot is still open next to Tyler Adams. I don't think it's guaranteed locked in who's going to start next to him. I mean, maybe that's what. And now, look, I'm not saying Roldan is going to start. I don't think he's going to, but because of the inconsistent play at that position, maybe that's why a guy like Roldan has been able to creep his way into the roster discussions and maybe able to make this team in 26.
The midfield is a total mystery to me, including Adams. I'll be honest with you. Like, I agree, he probably is just like a locked-in starter. I don't know how I feel about that. I'll be honest with you at this point. Like, I was kind of looking it up earlier. I'll try and find it as we kind of talk here. But, like, the Tyler Adams, like, in the Poch era has not gone great. Like, I have not felt like he's played spectacular. I felt like he's been very mistake prone. I feel like he has brought some good Tyler Adams things. I feel like, whether it's his fault or not, I feel like we don't tend to move the ball quite as well and quite as fluidly back to front with him in. It's not a strength of his. He's much better playing for a team that's out of possession most of the game. When you put a team of his in possession and he's relied upon to, be a guy who's, metronoming and figuring out, midfield puzzles. He's just not good at that stuff. Like, and that is not a knock. Like, he's very good at a lot of other things, but like, and I think, honestly, how we might need to play in the World Cup against some teams, he's going to be needed. And I think maybe his strengths come out, but like, I have not been overly jacked up about what I've seen from Tyler Adams recently, but I do agree he's probably a penciled in starter. Now, who else plays with him or who would play instead of him? Honestly, it's a bunch of names in a hat right now for me, Will. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, it's like somebody threw out Yunus Musa tonight. I was like, oh, old school. Like, I haven't seen that guy play midfield for the USMNT since the Berhalter era. I just haven't seen it. Like, I'm interested, but like, it wasn't good enough in recent era, this cycle. It hasn't been good enough that I'm like, yeah, that has to be what we do. It has been good enough that and nobody else has been good enough that I'd like to see it. I thought Tessman, I got burned on a tweet where I kind of tweeted that Tessman and Morris just weren't playing very well at the beginning of the second half. And I think Tessman, I rewatched that game the next morning. Tessman was better than I thought. He wasn't great in the first half. He was good. He was solid. Morris, I really was disappointed with Aiden Morris. I just thought we would see more growth. I thought James Sands today looked better than Morris did yesterday or whatever last game. I didn't think Sands looked great tonight. Another guy was like, okay, sure. Like, Seb Berhalter, sure. All right. Like, Roldan for the most part. I mean, he did come up with some big plays, especially in possession tonight, a couple of big passes. But even outside, if you just take away the 2 assists, it's like a sure game. You had a shitty play defensively, but like, sure, solid in possession. Like, it's so hard, man. But like, no one is shining, in my opinion, right? I thought Tessman's second half, literally right after I tweeted that thing, and then everybody started saying, you don't know ball, he's balling. Like, I agree, guys, he is balling now. Like, he played really well, and I thought in the minutes he came in tonight, he had some really bright moments. So I would want to see more out of him, but it's not like, oh my God, that's the dude now. It's like, hey, there's another name, like.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So many names, man. Jarny Cardoza. Like, who else are we forgetting? Like, are we going to try Weston McKennie out there again?
I think we might try Weston McKennie. I think Weston McKennie, like, he's not playing one of the dual 10s. I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like that's the only spot. If he wants to start, it's the only spot he's going to be able to start at.
Is there anybody else we're missing? Anybody else? Like
Morris,
Luca De La Torre? Like,
Luca De La Torre.
I think he might be done after the summer. He didn't play well.
Well, and Roldan's kind of taking a spot, right?
Yeah, and rightfully so, to be honest. He's outplayed him.
Yeah.
I mean, Luca De La Torre was bad when he was playing last. So, I don't know. I have no idea. Like, that is a total wild card. And to your point, like, Adams probably is just locked in because of experience, and like, you want a tough, kind of hard-nosed guy there in the big moments, big games against teams that are putting pressure on us, teams that are possessing against us 60, 70%. He's definitely the guy you want in that spot, without a doubt. Roldan's not the guy I want in that spot in that type of game. I just don't think he's that good defensively against high-level teams. Tessman looked good, man. Tessman looked big. He looked like really technical in possession. Like, he really knew what to do with the ball at his feet. Made some really positive plays in the final third. He looked good. I want to see more of him. Like, he looked like what I felt like Johnny Cardozo was supposed to look like for us. Like, in all honesty, like, coming out of this camp, it's like how I thought I would feel about Cardoza after a couple of his camps, and we just haven't seen it for the national team yet.
No, I agree. And I thought heading into this camp, a lot of people were excited to see Aiden Morris because he'd been playing so well in the championship, and they wanted to see if he could kind of fit that piece that we've been missing in the midfield, like we're talking about, just a wide open competition for the other spot. But like you said, man, I agree. He didn't seize the moment. He just kind of, like just kind of underwhelming for his opportunity. Now, I will say this is his first camp, I think, since Poch took over. Maybe I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he's kind of he's trying to get accustomed to it, and he's just not. But dude, that's kind of tough luck because I mean, there's just not a lot of time, and Poch is just going to play whoever adjusts the quickest, right?
For sure. Yeah,
so
without a doubt.
Now, as far as the double 10s, that's locked in, right? That is definitely locked in. It's going to be Tillman. It's going to be Pulisic. I don't, Reyna, people were saying that they hope maybe with him playing that he might be able to slide, maybe work his way back in. I just don't see that happening. Luna is definitely not going to do it. I think it's locked in. Tillman Pulisic is the double 10.
I'd say Reyna's a long shot. He's the only guy that has a chance, and it would have to be like an absolutely electric club comeback that like Spurs like, whoa, this guy has to come in. He still has the talent. It's there. It's just like, will it be released for club, and will he get an opportunity for national team to show it? I still think he should be brought in for national team. I still firmly believe if you just put him out there, I get he's not earning it with club. Still totally believe if you put him out there, especially in that dual 10 role, and let him do kind of what you've been asking Pooley and Tillman to do in those spots, I think he'd shine. I really do. I just think he's like just so much better inherently at a lot of the things you need guys in that spot to do, that you would see him shine in a way that really only Tillman and Pulisic, I think, are going to show us in that type of role. So I don't know. Is he is he going to get a chance? I don't know at this point in time. I don't know if he will. I mean, he's going to have to. It seems like Poch is pretty anti him, Scally, right? He just seems anti a couple guys that seem to be a part of the same crew. So who also knows? Like, you just never. We don't have enough information to know if like those guys came into camps and were just jerk offs, and we're just young little like dicks. Like, oh, I'm so good. And Poch is like, yeah, screw you, bro. Like, like I could totally see it. Like, I don't know. I'm not actually saying that's what's happening, but like, there's just so many unknowns in this type of thing where we're trying to figure out why a coach is and isn't doing something. And there's literally like 80% of the picture, 90% of the picture is stuff that happens behind closed doors, right? Maybe 5-10% of the play is on the field. I might even be over exaggerating at 10%, right? Maybe 5% of what they see in a camp is on the field. And like, there's so many other things, intangibles, and like, how a team gels together. And, like, seriously, if you have two guys who come in and they're like cliquey and weird, and like guys don't seem to like them, and you're getting feedback from older guys, like, these guys are asses, man. Like, and you play them, and it's like, we're not that good. Like, they're good, but like, I can play Tillman and I can play Freeman, and I get 80-90% of it, but I don't get all the negative. And that's the stuff we don't know. So I don't know. I'm going out on a limb there. I don't really know that that's what's happening, but that is the sort of stuff on teams that like is happening behind closed doors and makes decisions that for us as fans is like, what's going on with that? Like, that seems crazy, but really it's like a sound decision based on, good coaching and good coaching philosophy. And it's just hard to know. It's hard to know, like, I put a lot of stuff out about Poch, negative and like hopeful, and I've had this thing for, the last 6 months where I'm like, all right, my best scenario is Poch is playing 4D chess here. Like, he is breaking this whole thing down he came in for 2-3 camps. He saw this is fucked. Like, is like, screw this. I'm breaking it all down. Oh, you want to come for half the camp, Pooley? No way. Go home. Oh, this guy wants this? Screw it. You're not coming this summer. This guy wants this? You're going here. Who knows, right? But like, that was my best possible scenario, is he literally just sending messages. He doesn't really think these MLS guys are best. He's just like, you don't think I'll do this? I will. It's like a parent, right? Like, as a parent, if you just make threat after threat after threat, but you never follow up on it, your kids aren't going to change their behavior. If it's like, oh, you thought I was kidding? You thought I wasn't taking that away? That's gone. That's gone, bro, for the next 3 weeks. It's like, oh, dad takes that away for 3 weeks if I do that? I'm not going to do that anymore. Versus like I'm going to take that away from you if you do it one more time. If you do it one more time, which is a lot of like how I felt about Berhalter. It was like culture and accountability, and I just never felt like he was doing any of that. And Poch, it actually seems like he might be doing some of that. Or the worst read on it is he's just like incompetent, like, but I don't know. There's some stuff coming together that maybe, and some quotes he's had this camp that have made me think, oh, okay. Like, he said something like, at first here we were just coaching attitude and, culture and spirit and, desire. And now we're actually coaching tactics. Like, I heard him say that. And I've had that experience as a coach where like coaching basketball didn't matter for months in a season. It was just like, can I get the right guys motivated? Can I kick off the wrong guys? Can I like figure out who this group is that's going to actually like bring it every day? And then once I get that group in and we're bringing it, it's like, oh, cool. I don't have to coach effort and off-court stuff. And now I can actually figure out how to help guys with how to read ball screens and help guys with, how to, make paint reads and how to slide defensively. And so I've been there as a coach, and it's a really eye-opening thing. When that starts to happen, you start to see better results. And like the best read on all of this is that's what we've seen. We're starting to see like he is motivating guys. Guys understand him. Guys are starting to go, okay, can't F around. Like, we've heard things about, guys aren't going to see their family members. They're not going on golf trips. They're not, they're not making tea time. Like, so there's something happening. You've heard enough whispers. There's something going on with Poch in the culture where he is changing it.
Yeah.
How successful it is still TBD. I'm not going to overreact to these last 3 games and say, we're downhill, Will. Finally, we're not downhill yet. Like, we'll see.
Well, I want to touch on the last position because I think this is a good segue to why I think we're having success. I think it's the striker position. A lot of these camps, we've had a lot of lackluster play up top. And now that the last 2 games are that we've seen high production up top, Ballo was incredible last game. I mean, he was by far the best player on the pitch. And then tonight, Haji got his chance to start, and he made the most of it. He had a brace in 64 minutes. This is good. Finally, we have options at striker. We needed that, right? And, someone asked this earlier, and that's why I want to ask you. You and I, like I mentioned earlier in the show, we've been Haji stands. We've said that we like Haji. He should be the 3rd option striker. He should be. Like, if you can't start Ballo and Pepe, he needs to be the guy. But question is, Adam, with the way Haji's been playing at club, what we saw tonight, is there a chance he could battle for the starting position up top?
Ballo was good against Japan too, man. And Ballo was really good in Copa. I think he was hurt after that for a while, right? Ballo's really interesting. Like when you really look at the whole picture of Ballo with the national team, it's a guy who's like really come into his own. And as to me, it really shines and just looks so dangerous at all times. Now, I don't know. I think everything should be a battle, right? I think Haji, we just haven't seen Pepe enough, but what's really interesting is for the last long time, anytime we've seen one of those 3 guys up front, we have not had 9 problems. We've scored goals. Our 9s have scored goals. If you look at Pepe's record before he got hurt, he was scoring a lot, right? Ballo at this point, if you look at his record with the national team over his last, 10-ish games, he's scoring a lot. I think Haji hasn't had many games with the 9, but the dude can score when he's there. He showed it again tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There is a clear top 3. I think putting any time into other guys is a waste. Because even if one of those 3 guys is hurt, if you get unlucky, it's going to be, the other 2. It just is and at this point I would go all in on those 3 guys and let those 3 guys duke it out. Right. To me, Ballo's the clear front runner. He's just the best player too. I just think he's a higher level player than Haji. I do think Haji is really interesting off the bench. I think he's a really, to me, Ballo's almost the most complete guy. And I think you really saw that in game 1. I think his game connecting play is at a totally different level. The way him and Tillman just look so fluid connecting in moments.
What about his pace? What about his explosiveness that we just don't have anywhere else?
Correct. And yeah, exactly. And he makes, and Haji does too, but he makes really nice runs. He makes timely runs. And to your point, he's really fast and can just blow by people naturally with his athleticism. And he's good 1v1. If he gets the ball at his feet, he actually is really good 1v1. So I think that was a pretty complete striker. The only thing he doesn't have is the game in the air. He's not a big guy and he isn't dynamic in the air. But we're no longer really playing trim the edge and cross soccer. That doesn't seem to be what Poch is doing. So I'm not as concerned about that. I think with the dual 10s, he's bringing in an element of playing in the channels and then having your 9 be really good off back shoulders making runs, which to me suits Ballo, and it suits Haji, and it suits Pepe. Like all three of those guys are actually good at that. So I don't know. He's the most complete guy. He just is. It would be tough for Haji to beat him out, in my opinion. But man, I mean, Haji's probably the 2 at this point. Like Pepe has to come back and play soccer, and then he has to like reprove it. Like I would not. To me, Pepe can't be the 2 if he's just like been on the bench for a year. Like it's like, but certainly he's a guy that we've seen when healthy is as good, if not better, than Haji, or has shown that he can score at a similar level or better level. So.
No, I agree. I think
for sure.
Ballo's clear number 1, Haji's 2, Pepe's got to fight for a spot back. And at one point, I did think Pepe maybe had passed Ballo, or like they were really close, especially with the way he was playing for club. Pepe was when he was scoring at PSV and healthy. But yeah, I think those are your 3 strikers. I feel really good. And you know what's so funny is this entire time in the Poch era, that has been the least productive position group with all these guys out. I mean, that position has been depleted. We've had a lot of bad play up top. Now it's surprisingly our best position. I feel the best about striker I feel better about striker than any other position, maybe outside of the double 10 on this team. And you know as well as I do, Adam, you do have to stop goals, but you also got to score them if you want to win some of these big games. And we have some guys who can score. So I want to ask you just to close this out. We won against Australia, had a good performance against Ecuador. How would you rate this camp? I said that I think this is the best camp that Poch has had. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it has to be. The Jamaica camp is the only one that I think you could even, if you remember, I think it was the Nations League, whatever, quarterfinal or whatever against Jamaica, 2 games. That's the only one to me that you could even put in the same conversation. And this was just a more complete camp in a lot of ways. I think the most promising thing is that you're starting to see, if you really watch closely, you're starting to see the relationships form between the wing back and the dual 10. You're starting to see them do some really unique things where the dual 10 was dropping and the wing back was making a run simultaneously. Now, and we're just not quite at the point where the back line and the pivots are like making the ball, right? But there's like, I saw it like 3 or 4 times. I saw that exact same action where it was almost like coordinated action, right? Where ball changed sides and you saw Pulisic come back to the ball and you saw Weah kind of make that run. Pulisic's like pulling the back line up as he makes that. And it's like, oh, I see what you're doing there, right? That's clearly a coordinated action. But like is our center back yet at a place where he's seeing that and making, because you got to hit that ball at the exact right time. So we're not quite there yet. We're not quite, find those guys coming into pockets in the channels. Like there's some really interesting stuff happening there where I'm like, ooh, that's nice. Like that guy's and we're finding him sometimes and it's opening up play, but like we're not always finding it. So it's one of those things where I feel like we're like almost like there's some stuff brewing that's really positive. And I'm like, oh, if we're going to like keep growing into that, I see where we're going. Like I see where this is headed. He seems to have found a system, found a formation, found some key guys, and he's still trying out some other guys, which I think is fine, very appropriate right now. And so, yeah, I mean, it was like for where we've been and what I expected, it's like it's an A. It's a camp that's an A. Like it's not an A+. We didn't blow 2 teams out and like look unstoppable, but if we're grading on the scale of the last 2 years, it's an A camp that has you walking out of it feeling like, okay, we're going somewhere, right? We're not regressing. Like there's some stuff happening that looks positive. It's culture-wise, it seemed like a positive camp, and and now it's like, okay, what else? That's kind of what's next. Is there another step that we're going to show next window? I think who are we playing? We're playing Uruguay and
let me look real quick.
It's not quite as good as Uruguay. Uruguay is like the prime match, and then the other one was like, I think it's another South American team, if I'm not mistaken, though. But anyway, it's two solid games, though. Again,
Uruguay and Paraguay.
Yeah. So it's 2 solid games, right? It's 2 Common Bowl teams, and you're going to have to play well. And they're going to be both, Uruguay's going to be very good, and Paraguay's going to be solid and probably stingy and sit back on us, similar to what we just saw from Australia. And like, you're going to have to play well. So I want to see us elevate. I want to see us play better, right? And the results don't even matter. The fact that we didn't win that first game didn't matter that much to me. I thought we played well. I thought we had the better of the game. I thought if you play that game 10 times like that, I think we win 8 of them, honestly. Like, I thought we outplayed them. They had one moment that they took advantage of, and I thought we had the better of it. And it looks like we're growing into a team that's going to start creating more and more chances out of what we're doing. So,
no, I agree. And I feel like with this camp, this is the first time I've felt in the Poch era that we will get out of our group in 26. I feel like I have certainty and confidence that's going to happen now, which you can't take for granted. I mean, like, you mentioned, we talked about Copa America. We talked about that last year. We didn't make it out of that group. You thought we would have. I mean, you can't take anything for granted and assume you're going to advance in any tournament, especially the way we've been playing. But I feel good about things right now. We'll see what happens next camp against 2 other formidable opponents. Adam, I appreciate you for hopping on here with my friend. Guys, make sure you go follow him on Twitter /X, whatever you call it, @StanUSMNT. He's got great USMNT takes. He's bashing Tanner Tessman, but then he realizes he's good. I'm just playing.
True.
but he has good takes, and he's one of the best USMNT accounts that you can follow. So make sure you go check him out. Adam, it always is a pleasure, my friend. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Until next time, I'll see you all soon.